Hey everyone, and welcome back to Pink English. So glad you could join us as we kick off this brand new year.
Absolutely, Sophia. It's always great to be here. And to all our listeners, whether you're just getting into the swing of things in early January or simply looking for a moment to reflect, we're really happy to have you.
Yeah, this time of year always feels a bit special, doesn't it? There's that fresh start energy, but also a natural urge to look back.
I've definitely been doing a lot of looking back.
That's so true. It's almost impossible not to. The new year often makes us pause and think about everything that's just unfolded. It feels like a natural point to take stock.
Exactly. So today, we're diving into a topic that's perfect for this early January period, talking about the past year. We're going to reflect on 2025.
It's a fantastic way to start our conversations for the year, isn't it? Because knowing how to articulate our experiences, both good and bad, from the previous year is really valuable.
It really is, Daniel. I mean, just the other day, I was chatting with a friend and she asked, "So, how was your 2025?" And for a second, I actually paused, thinking, wow, where do I even begin?
I know that feeling exactly, Sophia. It's such a simple question, but the answer can feel incredibly complex. Like, so many things happen in a year, don't they? It's hard to summarize it into a neat little package.
Totally. You have all these memories, big and small, flashing through your mind. Some moments shine brightly, others might be a bit fuzzy, and some you've probably completely forgotten until prompted.
Precisely. And it's not just about the big events, is it? Sometimes it's the quiet shifts, those small habits you picked up, or the subtle changes in perspective that truly define a year. Those can be even harder to put into words.
Yeah, like I learned to make sourdough bread last year. It wasn't a huge life event, but it became this consistent, calming ritual, and it taught me a lot about patience. It's those unexpected little things.
That's a perfect example. Or maybe you started a new hobby we talked about, or read a book that really stuck with you. These things might not make headlines, but they add so much to our personal story for the year.
Right. And then, of course, there are the bigger milestones, maybe a career change, a new adventure, or even overcoming a significant challenge. Those are often easier to identify, but sometimes harder to articulate the impact they had.
Agreed. The emotional landscape of a year can be pretty vast. There are highs, lows, moments of pure joy, and times of real struggle. And figuring out how to express all of that in a conversation, especially in another language, can feel a bit daunting.
Exactly. You want to share genuinely, but also keep it concise and engaging. It's a delicate balance.
It really is. So, digging into how to effectively talk about all those layers of the past year is definitely something we can all benefit from.
Absolutely, Daniel. That's precisely why our topic today, talking about the past year, focusing on 2025, is so incredibly valuable. It's not just a casual chat. It's a powerful tool for personal reflection and connection.
Indeed, Sophia. Being able to articulate what happened, how you felt, and what you learned over the last 12 months isn't just for yourself. It helps others understand your journey, your growth, and where you're coming from as you move into the new year.
Right. Think about those conversations at the start of a new year with family, friends, or even new acquaintances. Someone asks about your year, and you want to give a meaningful answer, not just a vague, "It was fine."
Exactly. A meaningful answer can open up so many deeper connections. It shows you're reflective, that you appreciate your experiences, and that you're willing to share a bit of your authentic self. It's much more engaging than just surface-level replies.
Totally. And beyond just connecting with others, this process of reflecting and verbalizing your year is huge for personal growth. It helps you solidify lessons learned, celebrate achievements, and identify areas you want to improve in 2026.
It really does. It's like writing the closing chapter of a book before you start a new one. It gives you closure and clarity. You can see how far you've come, what challenges you've overcome, and what really mattered to you.
So today, we're going to explore how to effectively summarize your past year, discuss its highs and lows, and articulate the personal growth that came out of it. It's all about making your reflections both insightful and easy to share.
We'll give you the language and frameworks to do exactly that, helping you turn those complex memories into clear conversational insights.
All right, Daniel. Let's dive into the nuts and bolts of reflecting on the past year. When we think back to 2025, what are some of the first things that come to mind for people? Usually, it's the big stuff, right? The major milestones and key events.
Absolutely, Sophia. Those are often the easiest to pinpoint and talk about. Things like, I got a new job, or I moved to a different city. These are the headlines of our personal year. They're concrete and often have a clear beginning and end.
Right. Or maybe someone got married, had a baby, or even traveled somewhere they'd always dreamed of visiting. These are the Instagrammable moments, the big life updates people share.
Exactly. And it's important to acknowledge those because they often shape the entire year. For example, a new job isn't just a new title. It's new routines, new colleagues, new challenges. That's a huge shift.
Totally. Or taking that big trip. It's not just the destination, but the planning, the saving, the experiences you had, and the memories you brought back. It's an entire chapter.
Precisely. Beyond personal milestones, key global or local events might also stand out. While we're focusing on personal reflections, sometimes these larger happenings frame our year. Though, for conversation, people usually lean into their own experiences.
That's true. So when we're thinking about our own 2025, it's good to list out those big things. A new skill learned, a major project completed, perhaps a significant personal achievement or challenge overcome.
Yes, and it's not just about the event itself, but maybe thinking about when it happened. Was it early in the year, shaping everything that followed? Or a late year sprint that ended things on a high note? The timing can affect how we remember it.
That's a good point. A big win in December feels different than one in February. It can color your overall feeling about the year.
Definitely. So taking a moment to identify these major milestones and key events helps create a clear narrative for your year. It gives you those anchor points to build your story around when someone asks, how was your 2025?
So we've identified the big events, but Daniel, a year is also full of smaller, less visible changes that can add up to huge personal growth. How do we reflect on that aspect of our past year?
That's where the deeper reflection comes in, Sophia. Beyond the what happened, it's the who I became or what I learned. Maybe you didn't get a promotion, but you developed much better communication skills at work. That's significant growth.
Absolutely. Or perhaps you became more patient or more resilient when facing setbacks. These are often the most valuable takeaways, even if they're not visible to everyone.
Exactly. Think about new skills. Did you finally learn to play that instrument, or pick up a new language, or master a complex software program? Even if it was just a hobby, that's personal development.
Like my sourdough baking, which taught me patience. It wasn't just about the bread, it was about the process. Or maybe you started meditating and noticed a positive shift in your mindset.
Perfect examples. And sometimes the growth isn't a new skill, but a shift in perspective. Did you become more confident in certain situations? Did you learn to set better boundaries with your time or energy? These internal changes are huge.
Those internal shifts are often the hardest to talk about, but they're so profound. Like learning to say no more often, or understanding your own limits. That's a huge step.
It really is. Or maybe you became more empathetic towards others, or gained a deeper understanding of yourself. These are all forms of learning and growth that accumulate over a year.
So when we're thinking about 2025, it's not just I did X, but I learned Y from doing X, or I became Z as a result of these experiences. It's about connecting the dots between events and inner transformation.
Precisely. Asking yourself, what did I learn about myself? Or how am I different now compared to a year ago? Can unlock those insights. It's about recognizing the evolution, big or small.
We've covered the milestones and the growth. But let's be honest, Daniel, no year is without its challenges. How do we reflect on the tough parts of 2025 and what we gained from them, rather than just dwelling on the negative?
That's a crucial aspect of reflection, Sophia. It's not about ignoring the difficulties, but processing them. Every year throws curveballs. Maybe it was a project that went sideways at work, a personal setback, or even just periods of intense stress, like we talked about last time.
Right. Those moments can feel really overwhelming when you're in them. But often, looking back, they're the situations where we learn the most.
Exactly. The challenges are often the best teachers. Perhaps you faced a disagreement with someone and learned how to communicate more effectively. Or you had a deadline that felt impossible and you discovered a new level of efficiency you didn't know you had.
So it's about shifting the perspective from this was hard to what did this hardship teach me?
Precisely. It builds resilience, that ability to bounce back from adversity. Maybe you had a plan that completely fell apart and you had to adapt quickly. That's a huge lesson in flexibility and problem solving.
I think that really resonates. It's easy to look back at difficult times and just see the pain. But asking, what lesson did I take from that, transforms the experience into something valuable.
It does. Or perhaps you had to make a tough decision, and looking back, you can see how that decision, even if it was painful at the time, led you to a better place or clarified your priorities.
So it's about acknowledging the struggle, but then actively seeking out the wisdom that came from it. It sounds like a very proactive way to reflect.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing your own strength and adaptability. It helps you see yourself as someone capable of navigating future difficulties. So when you think about 2025, don't just remember the challenge. Remember the lesson. Remember your resilience.
All right, Daniel, we've walked through how to reflect on our past year. Now let's give our listeners the actual language tools to talk about these reflections. How do we start recalling specific events from 2025 in a natural way?
That's key, Sophia. The most straightforward way to bring up a memory is simply, I remember when. You can follow it directly with the event. Like, I remember when I first started my new project.
Simple and effective. Or, I remember when we took that trip in the summer. What if you want to set a bit more of a scene or describe a period?
For that, you can use phrases like, it was a time of, or that year was marked by. For instance, 2025 was a time of significant change for me, or that year was marked by a lot of travel and new experiences.
Marked by sounds a bit more formal, but it's good for giving an overview. What if something specific happened?
Then you can use clear time markers. Earlier in the year, or towards the end of the year, something big happened, or even around mid-year, I decided to. These phrases help sequence your narrative.
So, earlier in the year, I started learning Spanish. Or, towards the end of the year, I finished that big project. That makes it easy to follow.
Exactly. And if you want to highlight something that really stood out, you could say, one particular highlight was, or a memorable moment for me was. These signal that you're sharing something important.
A memorable moment for me was finally completing my first marathon. Perfect. These phrases really help organize your thoughts about specific events. We've nailed how to recall events. Now, how do we talk about the impact of those events on us? How do we express that personal change and growth we discussed, Daniel?
This is where the reflection truly shines, Sophia. A really common and effective phrase is, I've grown a lot, or I feel like I've grown quite a bit over the past year. It's direct and positive.
I've grown a lot, especially in my confidence. That sounds great. What about talking about specific lessons learned?
For that, I've learned to is invaluable. I've learned to be more patient, or I've learned to prioritize my well-being. You can also say, I've come to realize that, to express a new understanding.
I've come to realize that not every challenge needs an immediate solution. That implies a deeper, more mature insight.
Exactly. If something changed your perspective, you might say, it really shifted my perspective on, or my mindset changed quite a bit regarding. This shows a transformation in how you think.
It really shifted my perspective on what's truly important. That's very clear. What if the change is about becoming more capable?
Then, I've become more adjective works well. I've become more organized, or I've become more resilient. You could also say, I'm much better at skill now.
I'm much better at managing my time now. So, grown a lot, learned to, come to realize, shifted my perspective, and become more. These are really powerful for sharing personal evolution. We often learn the most from tough times. So, how do we talk about the challenges we faced in 2025 and, crucially, how we managed to get through them without sounding too negative, Daniel?
That's really important, Sophia, to frame it with resilience. When talking about a difficulty, you can start with, "It was a tough, challenging time when," or "I went through a period of." This acknowledges the struggle.
So, it was a tough time when I was balancing two big projects, or I went through a period of uncertainty. That sets the stage clearly.
Exactly. And then to pivot to how you coped, you can use phrases like, "However, I managed to," or "Eventually, I was able to." This shows agency and strength. "I managed to find a new routine," or "I was able to overcome that obstacle."
I managed to stay positive despite the difficulties. That highlights resilience. What if you didn't fully overcome it, but made progress?
Then, "I made progress in dealing with," or "I learned a lot from that experience, even though it was hard." This acknowledges ongoing effort and learning. You could also say, "It pushed me out of my comfort zone."
It pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I'm stronger for it. That's a great way to frame it.
Definitely. Or if you received help, you could say, "I got a lot of support from," which highlights the positive aspect of community. The key is to acknowledge the challenge, but always emphasize the learning or the overcoming.
So we've covered how to talk about the tough times and what we gained. We've talked about events, growth, and challenges. Now, how do we wrap up our reflections on 2025 in a nice, concise way? What are some good summarizing phrases, Sophia?
That's really important for bringing everything together, Daniel. A great way to start your conclusion is all in all, or overall, 2025 was. For instance, all in all, 2025 was a year of unexpected adventures.
Overall, it was a period of intense learning for me. That's very effective. What about when you're specifically looking back from your current perspective?
Then, looking back is perfect. Looking back, I'm really proud of how much I accomplished. Or looking back, I can see how much I've changed. It emphasizes reflection from a distance.
From my perspective now, I realize also works well for sharing insights gained over time. It shows a mature understanding.
Exactly. And if you want to express a general feeling or sentiment about the year, you could say, "It was a truly memorable year," or "I feel a real sense of accomplishment from 2025.
Or even, "It was definitely a year of ups and downs, but I wouldn't change a thing." This shows acceptance of the whole experience.
So, all in all, overall, looking back, from my perspective now, and expressing a general feeling. These are excellent tools for tying up our thoughts about the past year.
Absolutely. They help you provide a complete, thoughtful summary to any conversation about your 2025.
All right, we've gone through so many fantastic phrases for reflecting on 2025. Now it's time for our guided practice segment, where you get to actively use what you've learned.
Exactly. Remember, the goal here is to get comfortable articulating your experiences. Don't worry about being perfect. Just aim for clear and genuine communication.
Let's start with some repetition. We'll say a phrase, and we want you to repeat it right after us. This helps cement those words and rhythms in your mind.
Ready? Here we go. I remember when I started my new project.
2025 was a time of significant change for me.
Looking back, I've grown a lot.
I've learned to be more patient.
It was a tough time, but I managed to overcome it.
It really shifted my perspective on what's important.
All in all, it was a memorable year.
Great job. That's really good practice. Now, let's try some fill-in-the-blank scenarios. We'll give you a situation, and you complete the sentence with a phrase we've discussed.
Listen carefully and fill in the missing part. Dash, that big decision I made. It truly changed my career path. How do you reflect from a distance?
Despite the setbacks, dash, stay positive and focused. How do you express overcoming a challenge?
Over the past year, dash, to prioritize my well-being more.
How do you talk about a lesson learned? When I think of 2025, dash, the excitement of that summer trip. How do you recall a specific event?
Excellent effort. For our final practice, we want you to answer a couple of open-ended questions. Take a moment, then answer out loud using some of our phrases.
What's one major milestone or key event that defined your 2025? Try to use I remember when.
What's one challenge you faced last year? And what's one lesson you learned, or how did you grow from it?
Fantastic work, everyone. The more you use this language, the more naturally you'll be able to tell your story from the past year.
So, Sophia, we've talked about our personal reflections, but thinking about the past year also makes me wonder, are there any interesting cultural traditions or fun rituals people have around the world for reviewing the year?
Oh, absolutely, Daniel. It's fascinating. Beyond just New Year's resolutions, many cultures have specific ways to bid farewell to the old year and welcome the new. For example, in some places, people write down their wishes for the new year and burn them, or even throw them into water.
That's really symbolic, isn't it? A kind of ceremonial release of the past and a hopeful look to the future. It's like a grander version of our personal looking back exercise.
Exactly. And then there's the whole year-in review phenomenon online. Everyone sharing their top photos, their favorite songs, or even their Wrapped statistics from streaming services. It's a very modern, almost communal way to recap.
Oh, the Wrapped lists. Those are huge. It's interesting how technology has created new forms of annual reflection, moving it from a private journal entry to a public, shareable experience. It makes everyone's past year feel a bit more connected.
It really does. Whether it's an ancient tradition or a viral online trend, that human need to pause, reflect, and make sense of the past 365 days seems pretty universal. It's how we find meaning and get ready for what's next.
Definitely. It's a fun reminder that we're all, in our own ways, trying to understand our journey through time.
All right, Daniel, we've journeyed through 2025 together. Let's give our listeners a quick recap of the essential points for reflecting on the past year.
Absolutely, Sophia. Remember to focus on 3 key areas. Identify your major milestones and key events, acknowledge your personal growth and what you learned, and reflect on challenges, finding the lessons and resilience from them.
And when you're talking about it, use phrases like, I remember when. Looking back, I've grown a lot. It was a tough time, but I managed to. And to summarize, all in all, it was.
These tools will help you articulate your 2025 story clearly and meaningfully, turning simple questions into engaging conversations. It's all about making your reflections insightful and easy to share.
And that brings us to the very end of another insightful episode of Talk in English. I really enjoyed this deep dive into looking back at the past year.
Me too, Sophia. It's been a wonderful way to reflect. We truly hope our listeners feel more prepared to talk about their own 2025 experiences now.
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear from you. For this week's question, share with us what's one unexpected thing you learned about yourself or life in 2025.
Yeah, tell us in the comments below. Or try summarizing your year in a sentence or two using some of our new phrases. We always love reading your reflections.
Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us on this reflective journey. Your engagement is what makes this community so special.
It really is. Don't forget to subscribe to Talk in English if you haven't already, so you don't miss our next episode. Until then, keep reflecting, keep growing, and keep talking.